Welcome to the Tuck Shop Podcast, everybody. Welcome back for another great week. Hello, David.
Hello, Matthew. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well here, homecoming week.
It is homecoming week.
I'm home
We get to come home every week.
every day.
And more people should, by the way.
Not every day, but if you come every once in a while.
Every once in a while, you're always welcome. I was very, very happy. I came over. I left a full group of students in my outside of my office doing actually work and studying and stuff. It was they're very dedicated today, which is kind of neat.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
So we have a couple things coming up. I actually have a talked over the weekend because I knew his schedule was going to get a little tight with Dr. Jim Dittmar to talk about this whole Francis Hesselbein thing coming up. It's a great interview, so stick around for that. But we have a whole bunch of things we want to go over with you. First, because, hey, the calendar's pretty packed.
Yeah, got a lot of stuff going on. I'm just going to do chronologically what's coming up. So obviously we've talked about it before. We've obviously mentioned it earlier. This is homecoming week, homecoming weekend. At this point, you cannot register. The website is down, but that doesn't mean you can't show up. Activities on Friday, activities on Saturday. The big thing on Saturday is that, we have our reunions. We talked about those before, some other reunions going on. But you don't have to register to come and hang out during the coronation, during the fireworks, or during the bonfire. We will have an alumni tent that you can just come in. There will be opportunity to purchase libations, snacks, definitely our ever popular swag that you can pick up. That'll start at 5:30 right up here on, I guess we're calling it the mall in front of Krebs. So if you're in the area, I've mentioned before, if you have a student, son or daughter, that you're coming up anyhow to see, and you are an alum, come on over, stop over at the alumni tent, and spend a little time with us there. So that's this month.
It's going to be kind of neat. It's going to be the 28th. 28th. So 28th. You got a couple days. Yeah. It's going to be great. I'm impressed you worked in libations.
Yeah, hey,
I don't know. Are you doing some type of word of the podcast with Denise?
No, always try to work in libations in your life.
There you go.
That's my advice to you, young man.
Nice, thank you.
Always time for libations. But there may not be time for it in October, because as we get into October, a lot of stuff going on. Matt did mention, I'm just going to mention it again, Francis Hesselbein Leadership and Legacy Program on October 5th. Dr. Dittmar will talk more about that and how to get involved with that. Fascinating program about a fascinating woman that was one of our alum. As we get further into October 25th and 26th, the Business and Enterprise all-class reunion. We talked about it before, Friday lunch. We've got a keynote speaker lined up. We're getting ready to announce who that'll be. CPE sessions, after-hour mixer, Saturday the 26th, brunch, department presentations, and campus tours. I'm not going to go through the big, long register because you can register now. I'm sure Matt will drop that in the comments below. And then we wrap up October. October 30th, we're doing something we did last year pretty successfully. We had our men's basketball team play the Panthers down at the Peterson Event Center this year to celebrate the Lady Cat basketball 50th season. They've been at it for 50 years. October 30th, 2024, our Lady Cats will take on the Lady Panthers down at the Peterson. Again, we will have a pre-gaming opportunity starting at 5 o'clock at the Icy Light Baseline Club. Those tickets are free but limited. If you are interested in grabbing some tickets, give me a call at 814-269-2081 or email me at dgj7@pitt.edu, and we'll get you all hooked up for the October 30th game of our very own Lady Cats taking on the Panthers down at the Peterson Event Center. So we hope to see one of these events in October.
I think it's really neat, and because that was a huge success last year with the men's team, and I'm sure it's going to be even better this year now that people are looking forward and expecting it. So if the biggest thing with that one, if you're interested, if you hear this now and think, I definitely want to go to that, I'll remember to get to it later, call David now, because trust me, those tickets are going to go fast. for our alum, and we're going to want to see everybody out there. And
it's a family event. So if you're an alum, you may not be married to alum, bring them along. If you have children that obviously aren't alum yet, we'll encourage bringing them down also. At the Icy Light Baseline Club, opportunity to purchase libations.
I knew where you were going. I think the interesting thing here, and we see it. For everyone who listens, thank you for downloading and listening to this podcast every week. Do us a favor, share this out. There's so much that goes into all of these events and planning, and when you hear that, oh, people didn't know, or people don't, that's because they just didn't plug into the right place. And maybe you're the one who can share, hey, if you want another calendar, they talk about it once a week, and they have a great interview with somebody, or they do something fun. So share the podcast out, share our social media stuff out so people know, because there's a lot of time and there's a lot of effort that goes into these events, and people have a lot of fun when they come to them. And we're looking forward to this weekend, seeing the social science and the education folks coming out for their reunion. And that'll be great. And then we're going to do this in October with business and enterprise and the basketball and everything else. So being out there, sharing that really kind of helps. Between the podcast here, between the notices and emails we send out, the social media, the LinkedIn, the Facebook page, we have plenty of ways for you to keep in touch and understand all the different things the alumni is working on and putting it together. There's a lot of folks who dedicate a lot of time and effort. It's just not sit around and shoot off emails and do stuff. There's a lot of people doing a lot of legwork to make this work. And for every one of them that's doing that, I want to say thank you to everyone that donates time to really get the work done and not just sit, because we don't have time to sit. You see everything that's going on. And guess what, folks? There's going to be even more coming down the road. So share that out. We appreciate it. I'm excited. And with that, I'm going to throw it to this interview that I did over the weekend. I spent about 25 minutes with Jim, and it's a fantastic story about everything about Francis Hesselbein. I'm excited, and I know you will be too. I'm excited today to welcome Jim Dittmar to the podcast. Jim, welcome.
Thank you very much, Matt.
You are becoming an extended part of the Pitt Johnstown alumni family. So, for those who haven't had the pleasure of working with you in the last couple of months, about an amazing program you have coming up here on campus in a couple of weeks. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Tell the folks a little bit about your background.
Well, I grew up around Pittsburgh, and I lived near Johnstown for several years, 4 or 5 years during my teenage years, in a little town called South Fork, and then back to the Pittsburgh area where I finished high school, and then I went to college. Went to Geneva College, and then Slippery Rock for a master's, and Pitt University of Pittsburgh, Oakland for a PhD. So, hail to Pitt.
Well, I don't know if they have a podcast, but we'll take you on ours. What did you study?
Yeah. What did I study?
Yes.
Yeah, well, sociology as an undergrad. Then I got a master's in history from Slippery Rock University, and my doctorate from Pitt was Foundations of Education. And I ended up going back to Geneva College to work with which at the time was very new adult degree completion program, which in the late 80s was brand new, not only for Geneva, but for the country, actually, and the way that was being done. And it was a program where people who had dropped out of college could get, for whatever reason, and now we're adults, working families, this and that, they could pick up a lot of credits in a format that was very friendly. And then began working on an idea for a master's degree, which ended up being a master's in organizational leadership. And that is the program that I directed for a number of years. And that's how I came to know Frances Hesselbein, which is the object of our conversation today. And Frances was connected to her through one of our students who was from Johnstown and actually was 80 years old at the time, and grew up in the same neighborhood as her, and where she was living at one point, and knew her, as a neighborhood, friend and that kind of thing. And it was through him that I was introduced to her, and she came to be a speaker at one of our annual leadership conferences that we had from our program, and learned about Frances. She became she invited me to be a close friend, if you will, one of many people who were privileged in that way to be a friend of hers. And boy, it was great. And just to kind of wrap up this part of it, she continued to work in the world of leadership and do all sorts of things. We'll kind of backtrack and get to what that's all about. But Peter Drucker, the recognized as the father of modern management, called her one of the greatest leaders of the 20th and 21st century. And she passed. Go ahead.
No, I was just
Please.
saying that's a good dovetail into folks who maybe have heard the name in passing or maybe haven't heard the name. What's Frances Hesselbein's story? What led her to this path? Notably is our connection, and we're very, very proud, is she is a UPJ alum.
Yes, she is.
Back when it was, again, the Johnstown College here as part of the university system. But what is for those who are unfamiliar with her actual complete story?
Yeah, it's an amazing story. Born in South Fork, very shortly thereafter, her family moved to Johnstown and raised in Johnstown. Lived in Johnstown until 1975 or 6, when she became the executive director of the Girl Scouts USA. And that happened over a period of a number of years, where she was invited to be part of the Girl Scouts, and then gradually was asked to take on greater responsibility, and became director of the Talos Rock Council, which is an organization of an area of Girl Scouts, within Pennsylvania. Went to New York City and became as the executive director of the Girl Scouts. Revolutionized the Girl Scouts. Did all sorts of things to bring it into the later part of the 20th century, if you will. And she was committed to things like the revising the educational program, the very committed to diversity, not only among Girl Scouts, but among those who were leaders in the Girl Scouts movement at that time. She was a quiet revolutionary, as some have said, when she did that, and the way she did it, and what she has been committed to, what she was committed to her whole life, was just a leadership style that was very, very service oriented, that was very inclusive, that was very much a collaborative kind of thing. And that's how she achieved so much. And she got a lot of recognition when she was doing what she was doing in the Girl Scouts, this incredible transformation that took place, and she ended her time as executive director in 1989, and just did amazing things that people saw. And so what happened was, after she finished her time with the Girl Scouts, she and some others started in New York City what was first called the Peter Drucker Foundation. And the purpose of this was to create a way in which leadership resources, assets, etc., could be accessed by groups, what she would refer to as across the sectors, so all sectors from nonprofits to for-profits and large, small, etc. And that entity then became the Leader to Leader Institute, and then finally, at the insistence of the board of directors, the Frances Hesselbein Leadership Institute. And so Frances led that organization for that period of time from 89 until her passing in December of 2022, excuse me. And the things that she and her organization accomplished were just incredible. A continued exemplar of servant leadership that touched so many people, influenced millions globally, and became acquainted with some of the greatest leaders over that period of time because of the work she was doing. And just an amazing presence, incredible woman. She died at the age of 107 years old. And wow. There was a funeral in Johnstown at the Methodist Church in downtown Johnstown, and then a memorial service that took place in Manhattan about a month or so after that. So I was at that funeral here in Johnstown, and that's where this idea that we're going to talk about really began to percolate in my mind. But
and I think that's the one of the neat things, having talked about with you now several times, including we sat over summer and for almost 2 hours and talked about some of these concepts and how they dovetail nice with community and support and leadership and across so many different groups. And it's just not one narrow folk. It's a thing that so many people have benefited from her guidance and leadership. What is this event you talk about here a little bit, that this idea kind of started percolating? What's the idea? What are we looking at coming up here in a couple weeks that everyone who's listening can take a part in?
Well, absolutely. As we talk about it and get you interested in it, we welcome you to join us that day, Saturday, October 5th, 2 weeks from today, on the UPJ campus at the
as we record.
Pardon?
As we record, just for the audience listening later, it'll be October 5th.
Yes, indeed, October 5th at the Life Learning Center there on campus. And so I was struck by the fact that at the funeral and some other situations after the funeral where I was in the Johnstown area, that there were very few people that knew the name Frances Hesselbein, let alone what she had done, what she had accomplished. She was always referring to her Johnstown roots and how growing up in Johnstown helped prepare her for the life of leadership that came, not only while she was here in Johnstown, but after she left Johnstown and got involved in the Girl Scouts and all these other wonderful things. And I was struck by the fact that didn't know the name in most cases, let alone what she had done. And so to make a very long process of things that happened short, it led to this event that we're having, in which we call the Legacy and Leadership of Frances Hesselbein, the Frances Hesselbein Legacy and Leadership Program. And the centerpiece of this day, which is going to starts at 8, and then at 8:45 we're going to do a private screening of a documentary that has just been completed about Frances, called The Defining Moments, and it was produced by award-winning documentarians, and who, by the way, will be with us that day. which is really a great a thrill. So it's an opportunity for the people of Johnstown and the area here to know who she was and what she did, how she led as a servant leader, and that's really the really big emphasis of the day, and what we hope will be continued programming around this idea, and that is, how do you lead like Francis led? And when you hear phrases like "to serve is to live," that was what she that was one of her most famous mantras. To serve is to live. When you think about that sentence and what that means, that's what it meant to her. That meant that when I'm serving, I'm living. When she would say things like, leadership is not so much about what you do, but who you are, and speaking to the character of the individual and how important that was. Saying things like, work is love made visible, another phrase that she used. When you think about that, that means what's the purpose of your work? What should you be doing? And how should you be doing it? And it just goes on and on. She was recognized for her work, receiving 17, 18 honorary doctorates, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and just a long list of awards recognizing her for who she was and what she did. And it was just amazing how, again, she just crossed all sectors of this.
It's really quite an amazing story. And I'm looking at the flyer, that for anyone who's interested to learn more as well as to register and get involved here on this day, October 5th.
Yes.
We're going to have the link in the description, like we always do for any of the events we promote for the podcast. It's going to be in the description of this podcast. You can scroll down while you're listening, click on it, and we'll get you right to the registration page with all those nice details. I believe all the information that's here on the PDF flyer that you had sent out
Yes.
is on there, so you can see some of the details, some of the great works that she had done and been a part of, as well as the schedule of events. Excuse me. It is a just an amazing amount of work that really wasn't work. I think you talked about it so well, that it's just that love of service, that love of community,
Yes.
that love of giving,
Yes.
that just propelled. And when people talk about what keeps people going, I think that's probably a key part of why she made it to 107, is
Without
that
a doubt.
love of it.
Oh yeah, totally committed, and she just had this knack of making people feel, you're the most important person right now to me, and no matter if it was a 12-year-old Girl Scout, or it was Army cadets at West Point who she spoke to on a regular basis, uh, traveling to West Point, there was a presence there. I'm here. I'm listening to you. That's all that matters. And that's something that so many people spoke of. And I have to say the same thing. It was, when you were with Frances, you knew that's what she was doing. She was listening to you, and she was involved in what was going on with you and her at that time. Just one of the traits that really made her leadership and life so influential, again, to millions of people. She came from Johnstown. She went to, junior Pitt, as she called it,
Mm-hmm.
during the Depression, and was always proud of that she is a Pitt UPJ alum. And, just so many things that she and her husband did in the Johnstown area to move forward in social issues, discrimination, economic development. Here's an interesting uh, factoid. In 1970, she was appointed to be the chair of the United Way campaign, the first time a woman was ever appointed to that. The Johnstown United Way campaign. And she brought together on that committee that she led the president of the steel union and the president of the steel mill. Probably had never worked together like
we're
that.
we're not drinking buddies, golfing buddies at this point in history by a long shot.
But with her capacity to create collaboration and effort and success and so forth, it wasn't just touchy feely. Let's feel good about each other and whoop de doo, and that's it. No, it was always about performance in the end.
Mm-hmm.
To be the best, to be successful. And so here's what happened. That year, Johnstown's United Way capital campaign raised the highest per capita level in anywhere in the United States. And so it's things like that that just demonstrated she has something going. And yet in her humble, only 5 foot, zero, whatever, 5'1" frame, just did some amazing things. And again, to look at what she did, the books that she wrote, that she co-authored, the Leader to Leader journal, which she was editor of, award-winning, by the way, that is such a valuable resource. It was just all these things that together, add up to her life. And we're trying to expose the people of Johnstown who generally don't know anything about her or even recognize her name. And that's okay. That's not a criticism. That's just, she left in 1975. Those who knew her are gone. And there's that gap just gets longer and longer as the years went by. And it's not that she abandoned Johnstown. She would come back at different times for different things and so forth. But you understand, there's just a gap of oral knowledge, oral history, whatever.
I fall into the trap all the time of not thinking. I was arguing the other night about something here, and it was the argument of 30 years ago, and I'm thinking early 80s, not. There's a disconnect sometimes in people's brains that when you're talking about mid 70s, that's 50 years.
Yeah. And so even for me, when I think of what it was like in the Johnstown area when I lived in South Fork, and I think about the Johnstown Jets and all that that we went and watched, that's that environment, that context is long gone. And I know there's some wonderful efforts being done in the area to revive and to develop and so forth aspects of the Johnstown area economically and socially and so forth, which is great. But here's an opportunity to learn about how did she lead? And is that something that I can really take away myself? Can I, through attending this event, learn more about what it means to lead with a service mindset, with a collaborative mindset, to be able to accomplish the things that she did in the Johnstown area? I mean, again, that's my ultimate outcome for this, if you will, is it's not just finding out who was Frances. Oh, that's a very, very compelling and interesting story. It is. But how did she lead? And can I apply that to my life, into my work, into my community to make a difference? I mean, that would just be absolutely wonderful if that could happen. And again, our plan is that this is not just a one-off event, but it's going to be the start of something that will be a kind of a continuous, ongoing program that provides more opportunities for people to continue to learn more, and how do I apply? How do I understand her in this setting and that setting and so forth? I just it's just I'm just so thankful to be part of it. I'm so thankful for the people at UPJ who were helpful in getting the ball rolling for me. People like you Matt came on and said, I'll support this, and I'm gonna support it not only in the work I do outside of UPJ, but within UPJ among students and others to see, because Francis had a really deep commitment to the leaders of the future, and so we're really working to get college students at this.
I think it's going to be a fantastic event. One of the neat things too that is scheduled that you've been able to work in, that if somebody who's listening as an alum has the right demographic as a child, you actually are going to incorporate a whole part of the sessions for the actual Girl Scouts to participate.
That is correct. The afternoon will be a special session for Girl Scouts and their leaders. And this part of the day has been planned by several current and former leaders of the Girl Scouts in this region, and we are encouraging Girl Scout leaders, troops, and their scouts to register, to get on that registration website. Register. It is free, by the way, for Girl Scouts, for the leaders. It's free for college students. For everyone else, it's only $25, which includes a little nosh in the morning at breakfast time, and then a lunch to conclude. So I believe it's an investment that will pay huge dividends, and we're looking for.
Oh, go ahead.
We're looking forward to the Girl Scout portion of it, and we think it's going to be exciting for them to learn more about how Francis led and how they can apply it to their Girl Scout experience, along with some other things.
I think it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. I know so many people on campus have been talking about this as well. So make sure, folks, if you're interested, get on that page down in the description here of this podcast. We'll have the link directly to the webpage where you can read all the details and register for October 5th at the Living Learning Center on UPJ's campus.
Wonderful.
Jim Dittmar, thank you for taking some time with us today.
Oh, man, it was fun. I enjoyed it, and best wishes for the fun Give to Pitt Day.
Pitt Day giving's coming up in February. You think it's so far away, and then the emails already start coming. So
that's right.
Stay tuned for that one as well.
All right,
Jim,
take care.
Thank you again, folks. Enjoy your week, and tune in next week for the next Tuck Shop podcast. The Tuck Shop podcast is recorded live on the University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown campus. Update your contact information with us by visiting johnstown.pitt.edu/alumni. Connect with us online via Facebook and LinkedIn, or consider donating to the university at giveto.pitt.edu/giveupj.